Hey guys, Cameos for the series premiere of The Muppets, and obviously you guys know I was hyped up for this show. Of course, I reviewed every single Muppet movie that I possibly could in anticipation for this. That is why I reviewed all of them in anticipation for this, and obviously I was going to watch this show, and I couldn't wait to see how it was going to turn out. Remember when I first heard about it, I really thought it sounded like a genius concept, because basically the thing that people don't understand about this show, a lot of people have been getting upset about it, is that this is simply supposed to be the Muppets' personal lives. Like, this is their real life. Everything we've seen in the movies, that's just been movies. This is what's actually going on in their life. How their lives actually are. Get them to see be real people. And that was something that I thought could be very interesting, definitely. And I was starting to get a bit worried when some reviews started to come out and they really weren't the best. But I have to say, guys, that this ended up being out of all the premieres I've seen so far for the fall, this was by far my favorite. I love The Muppets already. I think this is a genius show. I really love what they're doing, and if they keep the momentum of this episode going, I'm really gonna love this show. Now, I will admit this did not really feel like a pilot. There were some things that really didn't feel like a pilot, but that very much goes with how all the other Muppet shows are. I mean, if you remember the original Muppet Show, it wasn't really meant for kids. It was meant for adults. Now, this episode, basically, this show focuses on Miss Piggy now has this talk show called Up Late with Miss Piggy. Basically, it's called Up Late with Miss Piggy. It's this talk show starring Miss Piggy, of course, and all the Muppets, they are the head of it. Kermit is basically the one that directs everything. He's the executive producer, and he is in charge of doing everything. Fozzie is the sidekick, basically. He is the one that announces all the guest stars and everything. Basically doing what Kermit did in The Muppet Show, but it's very much different from The Muppet Show. It is much more of a talk show, Miss Piggy show is. And that's something that I thought was also very interesting. But the show also isn't afraid to get into these characters' personal lives, which I really will get into, because we find out some really interesting stuff in this episode, and there were some things they definitely did in this episode that I really did appreciate. First of all, the characters of Kermit, Miss Piggy, and Miss Piggy have never felt more real than I think they have in this show. I mean, yeah, they felt real in the movies, but the thing I loved about this, that they did whatever they could to make this seem like a real thing. We all remember the article that was posted when Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy broke up. We all remember that. It was posted, and that, we were all really crushed over it. But of course, that wasn't real. That was just for the show, and I love the way they're actually making it seem like it's a real thing. And it really goes with what the show is trying to do here. It's trying to make you think that these characters are real. And like I said before, the reason I like this is because the Muppets really do represent all kinds of different human emotion. And I think for the first time, we don't see the Muppets as perfect characters in this show. We really don't. And that's something I thought was very well done. Kermit, for example, is probably the most imperfect version we've seen of Kermit ever. I mean, this Kermit is not perfect at all. He makes mistakes. He does things that really he shouldn't do, and that's something I definitely really like seeing. I mean, basically this entire episode, Miss Piggy wants to get a guest, and it seemed like a very ridiculous plot, but it ends up becoming a lot more than that. Because basically Miss Piggy doesn't want Elizabeth Banks to host because she simply does not like her. And Kermit doesn't really understand why. He really doesn't want to do this, and I like seeing Kermit actually stand up to Miss Piggy, because all this time he's kind of let Miss Piggy go after him, and he even says that he does not really, that she really is this attention whore, that he never really liked her, and that she was this diva, and I really like seeing this side of Kermit. It's a side of Kermit I don't really think they've played with before, and I thought it was very interesting to watch. And that's something I thought was definitely very interesting. Because basically when he realizes that Miss Piggy does not want Elizabeth Banks, he obviously wants to know why. So him and his girlfriend Denise, who I have to say I really do like the character of Denise that they've introduced. Because the thing I like about Denise is that she is the complete opposite of Miss Piggy. She supports Kermit in every decision he makes. She is the CEO of the network, but she's not stuck up. She's not the big persona that Miss Piggy is. And that's really what I like about Denise as a character. And you can really see why Kermit would be with her, because she really represents everything that Miss Piggy, I think, the whole joke with him being attracted to pigs, yeah, it's pretty funny. But I think it's more about how Kermit is with Denise because she represents all the good qualities that Miss Piggy used to have. That really is why he's with her. And that, I think, is definitely very interesting. We're going to get into that. But basically, when he sees that, he thinks this is all about a casting tape that when Miss Piggy didn't do something right for the Hunger Games, Elizabeth, she got upset about Elizabeth Banks, and Elizabeth, they got into like kind of a fight, and that's what Kermit thought this was all about. So obviously, he wants to do whatever he can to make sure that Elizabeth Banks is still the host, and that's something that I thought was very interesting to watch. But I think the most compelling part of this is Miss Piggy as a character. Because eventually, when the show starts, Miss Piggy is the most over the top we have ever seen her. She's stuck up. She is egocentric. She just seems to care about fame, and that's really it. And you eventually realize why. Miss Piggy is now this huge star, bigger than Kermit. Everyone loves her. She is probably one of the biggest celebrities ever, and she's idolized by everyone. And that basically is what caused Kermit and her to break up. And when we realize why she doesn't really want Elizabeth Banks there, it's mainly because, of course, Elizabeth Banks was actually it's because Kermit and her were going to see Pitch Perfect 2. They were going to see Pitch Perfect 2, and Kermit was tired of Miss Piggy hogging the spotlight, acting like she was this celebrity and not just acting like a normal person. He was really upset about it, and I thought it was a really mature subject for the show to go into, because you really see why Miss Piggy has basically turned into this, because now she doesn't have Kermit. Kermit was kind of the person that controlled her and kind of the person that helped her control herself, and now she doesn't have any control. She is completely she's crazy at this point. She really is, and I love seeing the bonding between these two. It's very tough for them. You can see how hard it is for them to bond, but they're doing whatever they can, and especially for the Muppets, I really felt for them. I really felt the emotion there. I thought they did a very good job with conveying that. That's something I definitely really enjoyed, and I really like seeing that. Fozzie as well is very funny to watch, definitely, because Fozzie, of course, is trying to get his girlfriend Becky's parents to see why he's a good boyfriend, and they are completely against this. They don't endorse, a human dating, a bear at all, and they make fun of that, and basically, it is pretty funny to watch. They don't do too much with it, but I thought it was pretty funny. And the other side plot we get is Rizzo going on a date with that rat and basically trying to have sex with her. It is pretty funny, and that's where I bring into the screenplay of this show. Yes, this show is more adult. Yes, I do think that this show isn't exactly for kids. Do I think kids could watch it? Yes. Do I think kids would like it? Yeah, but I think they're not going to get the same impact that you get if you're, say, my age or an adult and you watch this. I think the kids for this show, they're going to like it. It's the Muppets. I think a lot of the humor is going to go over their head. And for people worried, it's not that bad. Like, there are sexual references and things like that in there, but it's simply just supposed to be these are their everyday lives. And that's something I thought they handled very well. And let's, of course, talk about the documentary style, because I was worried this was going to get gimmicky, and it really didn't. What this does do is show how far the Muppets have come. It gets into their personal lives. It shows us how they're thinking, and I definitely really like seeing that. Kind of gave us a new way of getting into the Muppets' head that we haven't seen before. Like, we've gotten into their head before. We've gotten into Kermit's head before. We've gotten into Miss Piggy's head before. We've gotten in their heads, but not, like, up close and personal like we have here, and I thought they did a very good job with that. The show is also very, very funny. It is very funny to watch Kermit, try to get Miss Piggy a guest host and things like that, a guest. I thought that was very funny to watch. There's a scene with, anything going on with Rizzo and the rats, with them just Rizzo and that rat, him on the date with the rat. I thought that was very funny. Fozzie making fun of Fozzie talking about how it's an offensive stereotype that human and bear are dating. I thought that was very funny as well. There's some really funny jokes in there overall that I thought was handled very, very well. I was just very surprised by the amount of heart this show really had. Now, some of the jokes I think might be taken a bit offensive. There are some jokes that might be maybe a bit crossing the line that I actually really do appreciate. One of them is about, one of them involves a pregnancy. One of them involves depression. I mean, there's some jokes that very dark humor, but I kind of like that the Muppets did that because, again, this is their everyday life. This is supposed to be what their life is actually like. And yeah, it might not be the most exciting thing ever, but that's why shows like The Office work so well, because they were able to tell this story of people that don't have the most interesting lives and make it interesting. And with the Muppets, I think it makes it even more interesting because it gives us an opportunity to look at them as not just these puppets, but look at them as actual people and show their emotions. I think they're doing a very good job with that, and I definitely really enjoyed seeing that. Definitely something I really liked. And the main goal for this show, they've talked about this, was to get back to that adult target audience, and I really feel they did a good job of doing that here. Definitely it's something I really enjoyed. And they also did a great job with the celebrity cameos. They definitely, it felt like classic Muppets show cameos, especially the Elizabeth Banks one, which was very funny. Anytime they made, when Miss Piggy made fun of the fact she didn't really know who Elizabeth Banks was and why she was this big star, I thought that was very funny. The Tom Bergeron cameo was very good. And the Imagine Dragons cameo I thought was pretty good as well. They ended with an Imagine Dragons song. I'm assuming they're going to end with a singer every week. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see. But I'm really liking where the show is going so far. I really like what they're doing with it. I think they're doing the right things that they need to. They didn't do too much too soon. Definitely, that's something I'm happy about, that they didn't try to throw in too much stuff. And I didn't expect them to have as much heart as it did, but the show really did have a lot of heart to it. The scene, when you find out that Kermit and Miss Piggy broke up, it's pretty heartbreaking. It really is, and I thought they did a very good job with handling that. Also, we got some characters here that we really haven't seen a lot of in a while. Rizzo the Rat has really not been featured in the Muppets a lot since Muppets from Space, and it's really cool to see him have more stuff to do in this. Sam the Eagle has some of the funniest stuff in this episode. I mean, anytime the show gets too racy, Sam the Eagle, stops that, and I think it was very funny. There's even a scene, of course, you see in the promo where Kermit says hell, and Sam the Eagle's like, can't say hell. It was very funny, and there's a great scene in the very beginning when he's talking about how you shouldn't, there's certain things they can't say, and they're, very tame things. I thought that was very funny as well. Kind of making fun of how ridiculous censorship is. The only problem with the show for me was Gonzo. Gonzo doesn't really seem to have a definitive thing to do right now, but he is the head writer. He does have stuff to do here and there, and it was funny to see him complain about the way they're handling the whole documentary thing and him actually enjoying it. I thought that was pretty funny. I definitely enjoyed that, and I thought overall this is definitely the best pilot I've seen so far. It really had no problems for me. I really loved where it went, and it kind of took me on this, more emotional journey. It was definitely had a lot more heart and a lot more emotion to it than I ultimately think it was going to be. I thought this really wasn't going to be something we were supposed to take seriously, but no, there are things that I took seriously, and I definitely really enjoyed that they did that. I really applaud the show for that. Obviously, I'm not going to be reviewing every episode individually to you guys, but when the season's over, I will definitely be reviewing it. I definitely feel this is one of those shows that will get picked up for a first season. I wouldn't be surprised if the show gets picked up for a first season very quickly. I think this show is going to get massive ratings. I can't wait to see how the second episode is. Let me know what you guys thought of this first episode. I absolutely loved it, and that's basically my review. Hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the second episode of Scream Queens. As you know, there were 2 episodes. I'm going to watch the second episode right now. Hopefully it is better than the first episode, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.